So let's get straight to the point. Most people believe school is useless, a waste of time, you learn nothing. Are we even going to use this in the real world? If not, why are we learning this? It's pointless. I completely understand where you're coming from. In fact, I agree with you. Why learn something that is not going to be beneficial for you in the real world? I was that person who went through the education system. I did my schooling, went to university, studied electronic and electrical engineering, and achieved a first-class honors, to then going and working in investment banking. I did everything I was told to do or thought was the right thing to do. Even though I achieved what others would look at as being successful, I was not fulfilled on the inside. There were a lot of problems that I was going through. I didn't fit in. I felt like a cast out, someone who was different, someone who did not belong in the corporate world. So I left to then go and start up a maths academy, and to then starting an educational software company. To say it was a walk in the park is a huge understatement. Having witnessed and experienced both of these worlds, I wanted to share 3 important insights on the huge difference on both of these worlds, and why the choice you make should not be based on what everyone else is doing, but based on what you want to do. Remember this throughout the video, there are no right or wrong paths to this journey. The first insight is the unknown. Most fear the unknown. It is scary. There is a level of instability that creates a lot of discomfort. As human beings, we like to know how everything will turn out and that everything will be okay. When I went through the education route, I knew what I was getting myself into. You study these subjects, you do this degree that would then allow you to apply to get these jobs. You can say from that perspective, there was not much unknown to deal with there. You can pretty much see the path so long as you do these steps. Now, just because you got this degree, just because you got these experiences under your belt does not mean you will get the first job, but at least you know where the path goes. When I left the corporate world to start up my business, my gosh, were there a lot of unknowns. I'll be honest, it was exciting, it was intriguing, it was stimulating, but at the same time, there were a lot of doubts that crept in on whether I can make this work or not. Not because I was not capable of making it work, but because there were a lot of factors outside of my control that could take this away from me. At the end of the day, I had to make money to keep this going. There's no two ways about it. At the same time, money was not my first priority. I was not chasing money. I was chasing giving the best value possible for my clients. For me, that was it. Money came secondary. I always felt that money is a byproduct of the quality service you give to your clients. If you fix a problem that people have been struggling with, money will flow automatically. I had to adapt and be comfortable with the unknown. That was my only way. If I kept fighting it, it would not be sustainable. The unknown became part of my life. If you are someone who can't stand the unknown and needs to know what happens, entrepreneurship is not for you. You will struggle too much to the point you can't focus on actually building your product and service for the market. There is nothing wrong with that. A lot of people see others going in this route and thinking that if they can do it, I can too. But what you fail to realize and question is, are you okay with the consequences and hardships that comes with it? Are you mentally equipped to deal with those things? People only share you the good things, but you can't have the good without the bad. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. There are going to be many days, months, years when nothing is going your way, where the unknown is there every day. Can you cope with that? Can you deal with that? If you can, and your vision is far greater than this, knowing that this will all be worth it in the end, by all means, go for it. But don't do it because it's a sexy thing to do and you want to show off to others. Don't do it for the money because you will never last and give up. It has to come from within you. It has to be intrinsic. This is what will get you through in the end. No external materialistic factors will. Those are short-term plays. Entrepreneurship is a long-term play. If you are comfortable with the unknown and are able to adapt, to think outside the box and innovate, then the entrepreneurship route could be for you. If the unknown scares you, you need to know you are stable. You can't deal with the volatility and need security. The education route, the 9-to-5 route could be for you. Again, remember, there are no right or wrong paths here, only the path that fulfills you and plays to your strengths. The second insight is stability. When you're going through the education route and working a 9-to-5 job, you know what you're working for. You know what you are doing the work for because you can see the path clearly in the end. And when you compare that with the entrepreneurship route, there's a lot more stability in there compared to going and doing something for yourself and creating a business, a company. Of course, when you're working a 9-to-5 job, they can still fire you and you don't know when that will happen, but at least you know at the end of each month the amount of money you're getting from your payslip. There's a level of comfort that you know you're going to get. And even if you do get fired, it's only that short period of time of instability that you're going to experience until you find the next job. It's not going to be a prolonged period of time, considering you have the experience under your belt, considering you are applying to many jobs. So even there, the instability is short-lived. Entrepreneurship is very, very different. The magnitude of instability that you're going to face and deal with, especially at the beginning when you're starting everything from zero, is magnitudes and magnitudes more compared to the 9-to-5 job. You have to understand that as you being the business owner, as you being the one that has to deal with everything, you're going to have to wear the hats for everything. Dealing with clients, dealing with the finances, marketing, selling, finding ways of innovating, finding ways of getting people to come through your door, dealing with contract negotiations, dealing with uncertainties, dealing with clients that want to leave and they don't give you a reason. I had to go through all of those things, and that creates a level of instability because now you're thinking, my gosh, every single day is coming up with different challenges, different problems that are completely outside my control. So you have to understand that when you're going on the entrepreneurship route, starting a business, creating your own company, there's going to be a lot of factors that you can't control. There's going to be a lot of challenges that's going to come your way that you have to find a way to deal with. And a lot of people can't deal with that, can't deal with the stress, can't deal with the discomfort of all of these problems coming at you. The best analogy that I can think of that might help you to understand how entrepreneurship would look like is when you have to deal with a newborn baby. When you have to deal with a newborn baby, there's so many things that you're going to get wrong. There's so many things that you have to learn on the job to try and make everything work, to try and make everything all right and try and make everything stable. There's going to be times where the baby is going to cry the most randomest times and you're like, oh my gosh, what? I just fed you. Why are you crying now? And you have to find ways to, stop the crying, make the baby feel at peace again. And as you bond with the baby and you get to know the baby more, the level of instability starts to reduce, but that could take years. That takes time and patience. So with entrepreneurship, they show you the end product. They show you, oh my gosh, look at this. This is amazing. Look what I've achieved. But they don't share to you the challenges and the amount of stress you have to go through at the beginning stages to get this up and running. Even when it comes to money and income, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be stable, because you could be making a lot of money in the first maybe 3 years or 5 years. Let's say you make 50,000, 60,000, but can you make that consistently? You might make it, for certain months, certain periods of time, but then what happens when that income completely drops? What happens when that revenue doesn't hit those heights again? How do you deal with that level of instability? And that's the thing that a lot of people don't look at. They think that, oh, okay, if I'm making this amount, it's going to come up again in the next few months. It's going to be consistent and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But entrepreneurship doesn't work that way. There might be times where you're not making any sort of money. There might be times where many months you're not making anywhere near what you were making. And that is the roller coaster of what entrepreneurship is. When I started, I was eating shit for 4 years. Nothing was working. I tried so many different routes, so many different ways of getting clients to try and give value, but nothing was working. But because in my mind, it was never about the money, it was always about giving the best value I can, and it came from a passion. And there was also a lot of emotions that I was dealing with that pushed me more and more and more. It helped me get through those difficult times. It helped me get through those unstable times where most people would have just given up. So you have to understand that when you're going through the entrepreneurship route compared to the 9-to-5 job, you have to deal with a lot of uncertainty, especially at the beginning. The first 4 or 5 years are going to be hard. And even if you make it the first year, let's just say the first 2 years, don't expect it to be like that after. See, for me, even if I'm doing good and I'm doing good for a certain period of time, there is a level of paranoia in me that makes me think this is not going to stay the same, that something is going to go down and I have to be ahead, I have to be strategic. And that's because of the amount of instability I experienced early on, in that nothing stays for a long time. Whether you're doing great or whether you're doing bad, this too shall pass. So when you look at a 9-to-5 job and entrepreneurship, first understand, how do you feel about stability? Are you someone who needs to be stable, who needs to know, okay, at the end of the month, I'm going to get this amount of income through my payslip? Or are you okay to go for months and months or even years not getting anything, but still trying to adapt and change and trying to make things work, not knowing when your next payslip is going to come, or not knowing when your next sale or next income or revenue is going to come from? It's easy when you look at someone who's made it and is sharing all the successes and how they are making money and living that life, but you have to look at the beginning stages of what they had to go through to get get to where they are. And many people skip what they had to go through and get to the end of, okay, this is what I want the success, but are not willing to put the hard graft, the commitment and the consistency to see it through. The third insight is stress. Now, stress can come from different shapes and form. We all go through stress, and everyone goes through different levels of stress depending on their circumstances. When you're working a 9-to-5 job, you're still going to experience stress. That's something that we all go through. When you're going through the entrepreneurship route, especially again at the beginning stages, stress is something that you're going to go through every day. And I can tell you this from my experience, that the magnitude of stress you go through when you're building something and you're having to start everything from zero is far, far greater than a 9-to-5 job. Even though you're going through those stresses in a 9-to-5 job, which could be you have a disagreement with your colleague, you don't like your manager, you know that you're getting paid each month. Whereas from the entrepreneurship route, you're not getting paid. You don't know where the money is going to come from. You still have to keep showing up every single day, making your product and service better, giving value, and still trying to make a sale, still trying to make it work, and having to deal with these uncontrollable circumstances that are going to come at you from left and right. So in that regard, the stress levels is far greater. One example that comes in my mind is when I got kicked out of the premises without any notices. And in that instant, I did nothing wrong, but they decided to kick me out. I had to go through the emotional roller coaster of finding a new place so I can conduct my business. They gave me 3 days notice that by the end of the week, I had to leave. And the amount of emotions that was going through me at that time was just, it was crazy, because that could have broken my business. And I think when you're working in a 9-to-5 job, you don't experience those things as much. It's not as raw because you're shielded by the corporate structure, by the corporate world, by the company. They're all protected. They've got all that covered, so you don't have to deal with those things. The way I look at entrepreneurship is, what is your stress tolerance like? If you have a high stress tolerance, you can deal with a lot of things. And at the beginning, you might not know what your stress levels is like. For me, I had to go through all those experiences, those emotional roller coasters that created a lot of stress to really understand what my capacity was, what my stress level was, or stress threshold. And I can see that as I was going through these experiences, it only made me stronger, because I still wanted to achieve this. I still wanted to make sure that I do whatever it takes to make this work. No matter what comes at me, I'm still going to make it work. And this is another thing that I wanted to include, is that when you start your business, it starts with a passion, but you really quickly realize that the passion is one thing, and then everything else, the logistics of the business, the finance of the business, dealing with people, dealing with clients, that comes into it a lot more. And especially at the beginning, when you have to wear the hats for all these different sections, your passion is just a side thing. And in a way, if your passion is strong enough, if your passion is, that vision that you have is big enough, it will help a lot when you have to deal with all those other things that you don't want to deal with, but you know it needs to get done. And this is another thing that I think people don't share as much, is when you're on the entrepreneurship route and building a business, there are going to be times when you need to do things that you don't want to do. That's just as simple as that. Now, of course, as things grow and your business grows and you're making more and more revenue, you can start allocating that to other people to do it. But at the beginning, you have to do everything. So from a stress perspective, I hope you can see that it's not as easy as it looks. You can stay in the 9-to-5 job, and if you like your 9-to-5 job and you enjoy it, listen, respect. You found something that you like and it fulfills you, and you want to do great at it and go up the career ladder, go for it. By all means, do you, but don't follow what everyone else is doing just because, like I said, it's a sexy thing to do and everyone is doing it, because it's not going to fulfill you at the end. You know in your heart of your heart what type of person you are and what your strengths are. Play to those strengths. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. And I tell you this because I did what everyone else told me to do, which was go through the education route, do the 9-to-5 job. I did all of that. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll do it and see how I find it. And if I enjoyed that world, I would not have left. The reason why I left is because I did not enjoy it. It was not fulfilling for me, and it was not my personality. That's the reason I left. It was not because everyone else is going on this entrepreneurship route, everyone else is starting their own businesses, oh, I'm going to do this. No, it was never that. I never looked at what anyone else was doing. I looked at what I wanted to do. I looked at what was intrinsic to me, what was important to me, and what my purpose was. And from there, I built my plans, I built my future, I built what I needed to do and started to take action. So when you look at this, I hope that you can understand first, what is it that you want to do? Look at what you want, look at what fulfills you, look at your strengths, and then play on that. If that means being in the corporate world, by all means do it. If that means being in the education world, by all means do it. Like when people say the education system and the 9 to 5 world is bad, the corporate world is bad, they are only sharing their experience of why they found it bad. If they found it bad for them, it doesn't mean that it's going to be bad for everyone else. Just like if someone is saying the entrepreneurship is great, it does not mean that everyone else is going to like the entrepreneurship route. And this is why it's important that you need to learn how to stand up on your own 2 feet and know what you want to do. And if you don't know what you want to do research from both sides. Don't be biased on one thing and think this is it, this is what I want to do. Look at it from both angles. I've been on both sides. And for me, the entrepreneurship side of things, the building the businesses, the stress levels, the unknown is what works for me. It's not for everyone, and I understand that and I respect that. I don't expect everyone to be in this kind of world to enjoy it. It's not an enjoyable experiences all the time. A lot of the times there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of unpredictability, there's a lot of things that go out of your control that you think about it and be like, how did this even happen? How can I not have seen this? And you have to deal with it. It's like someone keeps punching you in the face and you keep being flawed. And you have to keep getting back up. That's how it feels. But when the highs get to the highs, there's no other feeling like it. Like it's addictive. It's like a drug. And you know, for you to get there, there has to be a lot of effort, consistency, patience, and getting back again and again and again and again from rejections and failures. So I hope that this video has given you a better insight of whether the education system, the 9 to 5 is for you or the entrepreneurship route is for you. But remember this, there are no right or wrong paths. Only the path that fulfills you and plays to your strength is the right path for you. Everything starts from zero. When are you going to start? Peace.